Kia ora koutou katoa. Ko Quentin Campbell toka wingua. He hononga o te raki Northern Regional Alliance, ACE RMO, e mahi ahau. No mai, haere mai, welcome along. Thank you very much for all attending our presentation today, which is hosted by Southland Hospital.
Thank you. My name's Danella and I'm the RMO advisor here at Southland Hospital.
Kia ora everyone, my name's Andy. I'm one of the first year house officers working down at the hospital. I'm just here to give a bit of a house officer perspective.
Hi everyone, my name is Heather Wicks and I'm an RMO advisor at Southland Hospital.
My name is Ben Schoenfenthal. I'm a PGY1 house officer at Kew Hospital. I chose to work at Southern DHB Kew Hospital because the smaller hospital allows me to get more experience in practical procedures. In addition, the lifestyle choices that you can get at Southland are extensive. I have a 1 acre lifestyle block with 2 ponies. It's fantastic here. My commute in the morning from my rural lifestyle 1 acre block is 10 minutes. Usually it's about 8, but yeah, it can be about 10 if there's a few cars ahead of me. This means that when I finish work, I can get home, get dinner, see my family, have everything ready, get to bed, wake up, don't have to worry about the commute, and show up to work fresh. The great thing about the Southern DHB is that unlike some very busy hospitals, you will be exposed to more hands-on procedures, more work that isn't just typing out discharge summaries or chasing blood results. You have a lot more opportunity to have patient interactions, clerking them in the emergency department, presenting them on ward rounds, etc. It's a great hospital for those kinds of things, if that's what you're interested in.
Hi, I'm Sarah Beetham. I am a PGY1 doctor working at Southland Hospital in Invercargill. I'm currently in my general surgical rotation, so working in the general surgery ward, and I'm loving it. So in my first 6 months of working as a PGY1, the workload has been very manageable. I've done a general medical run and a general surgery run, and usually I would be home by 4 or 4:30. Usually after work I'll have plenty of time to go to the gym or walk along the beach, something like that, and then on the weekends, Invercargill is so close to many places, so I've been to Te Anau, Milford Sound, Wanaka, Queenstown, the Catlins, Stewart Island. The list just goes on, and all these places are within sort of 2 hours drive of Invercargill, so it's pretty amazing.
Hi, my name's Ali. I'm currently a PGY2 working as a paediatric house officer in Southland Hospital. So I decided to come and work in Invercargill as a PGY1 because I'd heard great things about the supportive work environment and the opportunities for junior doctors, and also because my family lives close in Queenstown and it gives me opportunity to go home frequently and see them, as well as participating in sports I enjoy, such as skiing and mountain biking. One of the amazing things that I have found working in Southland Hospital is the close-knit team environment that you have with all other specialties in the hospital, including allied health, including medical records. The ED department are really close to the rest of the hospital. It feels like you are easily able to access all possible resources for the patients, and this results in a better outcome for them. I've greatly enjoyed my time working as a junior doctor in Southland Hospital, and I'd recommend it to anyone who asked.
I highly recommend working at Southern DHB. I really enjoy working at Kew Hospital.
So if you're keen to work in Invercargill, we'd love to have you come and join our team.
Welcome to our presentation, everyone. Southland Hospital has 157 beds and is a very close-knit team and very welcoming. As you'll see on the presentation there, you'll be exposed to a number of medical situations that will equip you well for future training. You'll have continued support in your professional development through 24/7 access to the library, weekly teaching and grand rounds, journal clubs and regular RMO forums. if you're into the great outdoors, Southland Hospital would have to be your #1 choice. We have the most well-known areas within 2 hours of Invercargill. I'm talking about Stewart Island, which has been mentioned before, I know, but I'll just go over them again. Te Anau, Milford Sound, Catlins, Queenstown, and a little bit further, at just over 3 hours, Wanaka. Most of our junior doctors, when not rostered onto work, spend a lot of their time involved in these activities. Invercargill is currently undergoing a major redevelopment in the CBD, and when completed, it will be amazing.
Okay, so the application process, what we're looking for in your application is your reasons why you want to come and work in Southland. You may be born here or come from here. You may have some family and friends. You may want to come for some sporting or cultural involvements that you may like to pursue, and the training opportunities, and if you have been a Murahuku scholarship representative. So just really important to give us as much information as why you want to come and work in Southland. You may like to contact our education supervisors. We've got 3 of them, Alice February, Adam McClay and Claire Shadwell. So if you like to contact them before closing date on the 9th of July. We like to have, it's really important to have 3 references, ideally, and we'd prefer a variety of services, and as relevant, as recent as possible would be perfect. And if you really want to come and work at Southland, then please rank us first. And this year we're taking on 10, or next year, 10 PGY ones. So the first runs that we have is general medicine, general surgery, orthopedics, and ATNR in the second 6 months. In the second year, we've got general surgery, general medicine, orthopedics again, community-based attachments, currently at hospice, and ATNR again, opportunity to be relief on both the medical and surgical teams, ED for 6 months and ONG for 6 months, as well as PEDS.
All right, so I'm just going to chat a little bit about what it's like to work as a junior doc down in Southland. So I'll say first of all, just remind you, my name's Andy. A little bit about me. I went through med school, finished last year, as you could probably figure out. But I went through the rural program, went up to Dannevirke in 5th year, which was a really eye-opening experience, really good experience for me. And then last year I did my full year down here in Invercargill. So I've had some time to sort of fall in love with the place, and I find it a really easy place to recommend for a lot of the reasons you've already heard about. One of the first things I'd say to know is that Southland Hospital is actually a pretty new hospital by New Zealand standards. It's built in 2004. And so a lot of the equipment here, a lot of the wards, a lot of the things that we have are relatively new, which is a real bonus if you've ever worked in an old hospital. What they've been saying about the community feel and the feel on the wards is really true. So one of the things that shocked me when I got down here was, as a TI, I was going out for weekday drinks with some of the registrars and the house officers, getting to know everybody in a real personal way. And what that does for your ability to train and what that does for your ability to actually progress under your own steam can't be understated. Like, I'd go onto the ward, people would know me, they'd have an idea of who I was, I'd know them, I'd feel empowered to ask them for things, they'd offer me opportunities, and so on. And I know that working with some of the other house officers down here, they've said the same thing. So just an example. You can get to theatre if you want to get to theatre, if you're interested in surgery. If you're on Gen Surge, the volume's high enough that you get to see a lot, and there's a lot of variety, but there's not so much that you're constantly doing paperwork, you're constantly caught up doing nothing but ward management, which can be a real big problem in some of the larger centres. The consultants down here are really approachable, as are the registrars, and there really is a flattening of the hierarchy that I know that you can see at some of the bigger hospitals, which is absolutely lovely. There's a surprising amount offered here. So general medicine is truly general medicine in Invercargill. We see a bit of cardiology, a bit of respiratory, a bit of nephrology, a bit of everything. The same is true of general surgery, and the same is true of orthopedics, which I'm currently working on. We've got hip specialists, knee specialists, we've got revision specialists. We do, Dunedin actually sends some of their operations down to Invercargill, which just goes to show the sort of the reputation that we have as a little functioning hospital. Outside of working at the hospital, Invercargill is actually a gorgeous wee town. They've got amazing access to the outdoors. Like, you're 2 hours to Queenstown. One of my colleagues wanted me to tell everybody that his big comment why you should come to Invercargill is he goes to Queenstown every weekend during winter. And if that's what you're into, you can too. Fiordland is amazing for walks, for cycling, for sightseeing. There's, you know, anything that the lower South Island has to offer is realistically within striking distance for Invercargill. But then the town itself is actually really awesome as well. Southland people are unique people in New Zealand. They're very welcoming, very kind, very warm, very easy to like. And the more time you spend down here, the more you'll get to know them, the more you'll find that you do enjoy it down here. It's cold, not gonna lie. Winter can be very, very cold, but generally speaking, it's fine. And the hospital is warmed, and that's where you're gonna spend most of your time anyway. I think I'll just hold off saying too much more until the Q&A session. But I would say, you know, I was born in Auckland, raised in Auckland, spent most of my childhood growing up there. Went to Dunedin, found that was a bit different, enjoyed that difference. Came down to Invercargill, have found that difference even, you know, is magnified. So I would say, like, when you're looking for where you're going to go for your PGY1, don't think too much about where you're going to go, live the rest of your life, so on and so on. It's very much a transitional time. It's very much a time where you're learning and developing. And Southland's a really, really good place to do that. And it's a really good place to take big steps compared to what you get to do in some hospitals. You get to step up a lot if you want to step up a lot. You get good support if you need that support. And if you come here, I guarantee you, you'll have a good time, you'll have a valued time, and you'll walk away a really good PGY1 and then a really good PGY2. Oh, got a couple of other things there. Rostering, I'll just quickly go through those. So rostering, it's very generic. The medical rostering, you're rostered on 40 hours a week throughout the week. And then what my colleague Ben was alluding to in his part of the video about the admitting is that there's an evening shift one night a week for each house officer where they get to go down to ED, admit patients. Usually it's 2 a night under the guidance of a registrar, and then you get to present them the next day. And that's just an awesome learning experience. It's invaluable because you have to go and do it. You're expected to do it. Everyone knows you're there to do it, and you get that exposure and you get to see things you otherwise wouldn't have seen or wouldn't have had the confidence to see. Then you go a weekend once every 6 weeks or so, where you're either the first on, which is an 8 till 8 shift, or you're the third on, which is from what I understand, a fairly Southland thing, where basically you just float around doing jobs for 8 hours on the weekend. So it's either a 24-hour weekend every 6 weeks or a 16-hour weekend every 6 weeks. Then on medicine, you do sets of 1 week of Monday to Friday, where you do evening shifts instead of taking turns covering the ward for an evening, which works really well. And it actually lets you organize your life a bit better than what I hear some other people have elsewhere. Then surgery is very different. It's 4 8-hour days during the week, which often will be 9-hour days, and 1 15-hour day where you work from 8 in the morning until 11 at night. That's once a week. Then once every 6 weeks, you do the weekend similar to medicine. And on either side of those weekends that you work, you are not rostered on for a long day. So all in all, it's really manageable, particularly if you're RDA, you'll find that it's all very, very manageable. It's not like a lot of hospitals where you have to stay way later. You're constantly pressured to come in early, to leave late. Most of the time, if you want to, you can get here on time, leave on time. If you're interested in pushing yourself a little bit more and doing a little bit more and getting a little bit more involved, they love that. And if you were to do that, you were to put in a little bit more work, you work in small enough teams that it's recognized and that you get credit for it. and that you actually can uptake responsibility and start to do sort of second year jobs, reg jobs, long before you would in somewhere like Auckland or Wellington. In terms of training, teaching and support, I can't emphasize how fantastic the reg group is down here and the consultant group as well. You get heaps of on-the-job training and opportunities, which is invaluable. In my first week, I was doing supervised lumbar punctures. I have friends who go and assist in theatre. A mate of mine did his first acidic drain the other day, and this is all, you know, within 6 months of starting. All of it's completely supervised and very safe. No one's being made to do these things, but if you want to do them, the opportunities are there. That's the informal teaching. Otherwise, you get 2 protected teaching hours a week as per the nationwide contracts, and those are honoured. In medicine, they go above and beyond. They usually do 3 to 4 hours a week. Surgery is a little bit more variable. You tend to be a little bit busier. But even then, they have teaching. They have registrar teaching you're welcome to go to, and it's all very well supported, I find. So far, I've never known of anyone who's got into dire straits or has been upset or has had any personal circumstance that they've needed time off, they haven't been able to get it. They're very accommodating down here, very understanding and very supportive. Like I say, the junior doctors down here are very much, we're all each other's mates and we all look out for each other. Partly that's because it is a transient group by and large. The junior doctors tend to come, stay for 2 to 4 years and then leave. And that gives us all a bit of a sense of camaraderie, which is awesome. So, you know, that said, I'm going out with a group of them tonight and tomorrow night, and it's going to be great. Catch up, talk about work stuff. So yeah, I'll, any questions you have for me, feel free to fire them off. Whatever they are, I'll do my best to answer, and hope you've learned something from this little spiel.
As Andy's already said, covered how the roster works, but it does depend on what run you're in. Yeah, at least one long day a week, around 2 to 3 weekends per quarter, and obviously no nights in the first 6 months. And in the last 6 months, you'll get less long days and weekends, but work nights.
Andy did touch lightly on the teaching, and we do offer regular house officer teaching, which includes weekly teaching session on a Thursday through the middle of the day, and this is protected. Journal club, grand rounds weekly, and departmental training.
Just to clarify what protected means, it means that you hand your pager in, no one can contact you during that time, and your service that you work with is not able to demand you to work through that time, which is something that is like, you don't see the need for it until you know you're having it, and then it's really useful to be able to say, no, look, I have to go to teaching. It's part of my development. It's easy.
Vocational training is offered as PGY1s are allocated to runs that will provide for broad and general experience, allowing for sub-specialisation in their second year. For PGY2+, Southland Hospital offers vocational training in the following specialties. Each year we employ a good mix of training and non-training registrars. This includes ED, medicine, O&G, paediatrics, orthopaedic, general surgery and anaesthesia.
So that brings us to the end of our presentation, but Southland is a really great place to start your PGY1 year, as Andy said, and yeah, and the RMO office here is doors always open. We have a great relationship with the university, and there's great support. So make your application before the 9th of July at 12 o'clock. Choose Southland as your first choice, and please contact the education supervisors to introduce yourself, and likewise you can send an email to Heather and I as well. Don't forget to include the reasons why you want to come to Southland. It's just really important when education supervisors are reading your CVs, and to provide 3 references. There possibly could be accommodation for late starters as well. Yeah. So thank you.
Just want to quickly jump back in and say something, because I've just been sitting here thinking about the questions I had when I was listening to these talks. And the question specifically I was thinking about is, what is the actual hospital? How is it structured? What does it look like? 2 floors. Downstairs, you've got ED, which links up to radiology, which is unbelievably accessible for the hospital staff. Like, you can get, the other day I ordered a MRI and a CT, got the MRI before the CT. You know, I'm sure you all understand just how rare that is in New Zealand. Next to that, you've got the pediatrics ward, which is very, very well sized, very well staffed. Next over is obs and gynae. We've got a low level NICU, so we can handle sick babies, but not very sick babies. Those all get transferred to Dunedin. Then next to that's the obs gynae department, which is excellent. I'm applying to work there next year. I work there as a student. I'm absolutely fizzing to work there. And then we've got a rehabilitation ward for getting sort of sick medical or surgical patients back into the community. Upstairs is where you'll spend most of your time as a PGY1. There's a mixed medical ward and a mixed surgical ward. The medical ward is just, you know, beds for anyone of all kind. All medical patients go onto the medical ward, and similarly, all surgical patients go onto the surgical ward. The surgical ward covers orthopedics, general surgery, and urology, as well as gynecology, and more rarely things like ENT. We don't have ENT surgeons here, but we do have outpatients. And so if they ever need admitted, they come up to the ward. And the medicine and the surgery we do here is very different to in urban centers. So in an urban center, general medicine is a slang term for the elderly and the difficult to triage. Whereas in Invercargill, which because it's a bit smaller, because we don't have that those subspecs readily available to us. If you're on general medicine, you do everything medical. If you're on general surgery, you see everything surgical up until the point it ceases to be safe to manage them in Invercargill, at which point we will transfer them to another hospital. So that's how the actual practicalities of the wards work. There's also a cafe, which is really good. They do really good food, surprisingly good for hospital, to be honest with you. The coffee's good 90% of the time. And they have cheese rolls, which is a big draw card.
Glad you brought up the cheese rolls.
That's right.
What sort of population do we serve down in Southland Hospital? What's the size demographic?
So the catchment's about 200,000, which is surprisingly large. So it's not only Invercargill, but it's also up to lakes. It's through it's throughout Southland, throughout all of Southland. The population tends to be a lot of agricultural workers, a lot of lower skilled labourers, just based on the industries we have down here. On orthopedics, we see a lot of fractures coming through from the ski fields, from Queenstown, from Wanaka goes to Dunedin, but from Queenstown certainly. So it's a really interesting mix of people, and it's a really satisfying community to serve.
I just wanted to just put a question just in advance, is just with regards to any of our students who haven't done placements or attachments in Southland, and also for our applicants who are applying from Australia. What can they do practically to help strengthen their application through the ACE process?
I guess really contacting the 3 education supervisors or contacting Heather and myself, also the recruiters in Dunedin, so Deb McDonald. So either that way.
I find when I put in my applications, like, you don't get feedback, so it's hard to know what actually works. But I find that like, put down why you want to go to the place, and if you don't have a good reason to go there, try to find one. You know, like when I came down here, the thing I was attracted to about Southland was that it's smaller, so you get more interaction with your bosses and superiors. It's a small town, like a smallish city with, you know, very little traffic, very little congestion, that sort of thing, which coming from Auckland was a godsend. And amazing access to the outdoors, which was something that I really valued. And so I put all of that in my application, and I think that it made a difference. Like, when people read that stuff and they realize that you have a little bit of buy-in to the place you're going, rather than just, I need a job, it does make a difference, and it should.
I can't emphasise that strongly enough, actually, just to be
Yeah.
very strong and clear in your covering letter, and passionate, your reasons for wanting to come here to Southland.
And that's regardless where you apply to. It should always be what you do.
100%. And what about paired applicants? Do you welcome paired applicants to your region as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This year, I think we had at least 2 anyway.
Yeah.
So definitely, yeah. And just make sure that that's clear as well on the application.
One of the things which is great about Invercargill is rental prices and house prices, which I'll just put in a quick plug for. You can get a nice rental for about $140 a week, less if you don't want something so nice. 2 of my mates down here have bought houses. I'm lucky enough to live at one of them, which has been a really fun experience after flatting. One paid $380 for a 3-bedroom, which is absolutely awesome, and it's on about a 1/4 acre section, really good access to the CBD and to the hospital. And the other one I think paid something like $460 for a 5-bedroom, 2-story with like chandeliers and oak panels. Like, it's ridiculous. It's a different world down here. And it's booming as well. It's not going to be like that in 3 years. It's going to be a heap more expensive. I came down here with a mate of mine who also put this as her first choice. And we crack up all the time at how awesome it is down here, and how New Zealand as a whole doesn't really even know Invercargill exists. And yet it's such a mint little city. There's heaps to do. There's heaps of quirks. There's heaps of people. It's a fun place to be. And in terms of a work environment, in terms of work-life balance, in terms of a first start, in terms of developing skills and confidence and doing it in a place that you're supported and you'll learn things, it's a hidden gem. And if you decide to come to Invercargill, you will not regret it. And hey, you may even be my house officer one day.
Okay, so we got, do you ever accept applications from the talent pool or Australian applicants? So yes, they do come through the ACE application process. So
congratulations on all making it this far, by the way. It's next year will be awesome for you. Like, first year house officer is a great year. It's a year where you, like I was saying to Quinton before we came live, that med school is a lot of waiting, and it has like one very clear goal at the end. And nothing that you do in med school is like actually working on the wards and actually being a doctor. And it's awesome. And wherever you go, you'll have a great time. Wherever you go, if you make the most of it, you'll learn a lot, you'll develop hugely, and look forward to that, because it is awesome. And if it's Invercargill, if it's not, have a good time.
Yeah, Andy, I think you're an incredible ambassador for Southland, especially coming from Auckland. The information that you put out there in the transparent manner that you have is really good for the students that are watching now live. And also those who'll be watching via the YouTube and Facebook social sites when we repost it up online as well. And so, yeah, I can't thank you enough for the information that you provided for us today. It's been really good. If any of our students have any questions at a later stage for our teams, then obviously the Southland Hospital email and phone contacts are on the ACE RMO website. And also, if they had any questions for yourself, Andy, I'd be happy to, as a conduit, just push them through to yourself if they had any questions for you directly. That may or may not happen, but just putting it out there if that's okay.
That's all good. I think peer support is absolutely one of the cornerstones of medical education and of sort of how we all develop. I think I've had more than my fair share of people helping me out throughout my journey, and I'd be more than happy to take those questions if they came up, which I'm sure they won't, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to fire them off.
Well, Heather, Daniela, and Andy, haere, thank you very much for your mahi this afternoon. Really appreciate you coming along and spending some time and giving us some ideas and about what it's like to work at Southland Hospital, and also what it would be like to live in the area as well. So I hope you guys have a great afternoon. And Andy, you'll be able to get off for your social events this evening as well. So have a good night. I'm sure you've enjoyed a little bit of a break there.
Yeah, a little bit. I've still got some work to do, but we'll get out. Don't you worry about it.
No worries, guys.
Cheers, mate.
Have a good evening.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Ngā kite anō.
Ka kite anō.